All right, so I've started recording. Now, the way I typically do this is it's an hour of your time, whatever you want to talk about. We just go through it, and
Okay.
what I like to do is kind of have you just. I read through your email about kind of your project and what you're trying to do, but I want you to kind of just go through and list out, just what you're working on, and I'll ask questions along the way. That just kind of helps me have that context. Okay.
Okay, awesome. So I'm making a game called Asfalia. It's a game for children. It's a point and click tale about emotions, and it consists of 4 chapters, but each chapter will be a separate DLC. So it's going to start with just a prologue, and the first chapter being a chapter about anger. The core target is children 5 to 8. And that is the big challenge here because obviously we have to market the game to the parents, to the schools, to the educators, possible people who are involved with children health care and those kinds of things. Um, but I think the game we're making is a game that I make for my kids, but I also make it for myself. It is heavily story based, and so it's really a point and click where we're not focused on the puzzles, but more on telling a great story with a bit of thinking to do. But it's really not a game that is supposed to get you stuck, and it's not about solving problems. It's more about taking kind of live your own story, live the character story, and
Uh huh.
so there's several things about first the kind of platforms the game is going to be played on, because it is a game for children. The ideal platforms are actually tablets and the Switch. That's what we identified, anyways. Which means we're going to be on a mobile, we're going to be on Switch, but historically, the platform for point and click games is desktop, and it really fits well with that. And I think also we can kind of create some motion, some support towards the game through delivering it on desktop.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also it's easier to release a game on Steam than it is to release it on mobile. So the first platform we're going to release the game on is actually not going to be the ideal one, but the one that is the easiest to release on, which is uh, PC and Mac. And so right now we're trying to figure out how we are going to market the game through different means. We are actually thinking of having making a book, a children book with some stories that are um, going to support the lore of the game and contain a Steam key, so that people can actually buy a book that contains a key to the game. They can go on Steam and then get the game, which is going to tell a different story than the story in the book. But then, because there's going to be further chapters released, uh, then they're going to buy the extra chapters, those kinds of things.
Okay.
But right now, my focus is how do I get people the other kind of target we have, which is not really an explicit target, but I realize that a lot of adults are actually interested in the game. They think it's really nice. They like the art style. They think, oh, that's cute. There's really a lot of interest from adults who like a chill, wholesome experience. And actually, I saw in one of your recent videos that yeah, there's a market for wholesome games. I joined the wholesome games Discord server. There's really something. There's a drive, and every time I talk to an adult about the game, they're super stoked about it. So I think there is a market on Steam for the game, but I need to get to that market, and that's the big issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, my CTR is not great, though I think I have a capsule that is pretty visible. But the capsule does not really set the genre of the game. I mean, you can't tell from the capsule that it's a point and click adventure, but you can tell from the capsule that it's um, that it's probably appropriate for kids, that it's a bit wholesome and that kind of thing. So that's what we focused on in the visuals of the capsule. I don't know if you have the Steam
Um,
page.
yep, I'm looking at it right now. Yep.
So right now, we have a trailer, but that is actually an old trailer that we made like about a year ago. It still says the game's going to be released in March 2022, which is not going to be the case. Right?
That's the way it
We
goes.
hope to release it in September, but I gotta make a trailer very soon, just at least as a placeholder, because I want to be on the next Steam Fest, and I want to make the most of that Steam Fest. It's essentially what I wanted. What I want to gear towards right now, and so, like I said in my mail, I'm working with someone who is a marketeer, um, but he worked at Schneider Electrics, so he has a very business vision of things, which is very interesting because I mean he is my core target. He is the person who's not a gamer but who might be interested for his children or his grandchildren. So he has this kind of external non-gamer vision, and he identified, for example, that most of the people who we're going to market the game to don't know Steam. They don't know what it is. They've never heard of it in their entire life. So that's a bit of the challenge here is to kind of also get people to understand what we do, reassure them because video games, you know. So we're trying to actually label this as a tale for children, a digital tale or a digi-tale or digi-story. I don't know exactly the term I'm going to use in English. We coined a term in French, but we're still working on that. Yeah, so lots of work to do, right? And in a few weeks, we plan on having with the agency a workshop. But the goal there is going to be really so for with the web agency to define the sitemap for our website, which is also going to be a place where we kind of centralize everything that's going to happen in terms of SEO, SEA, and social network advertising and those kinds of things. And what I want to see is how we can fit all these things together that are kind of they're a beast of their own. Like there's going to be the App Store, there's going to be the Play Store, there's going to be Steam Store. They all have their own communication channels, and it all has to kind of come together. And there you go. And since you said in your mail, I think you should come and see me first. So
Yeah, yeah. I
there
got
you
a
go.
couple other questions. There's a lot of things
Yeah.
up front that I'm like, I don't quite know, and I don't know. Um, before I give you any advice, and before you go in with this marketing team, I do want to kind of catch some things based off of
Yeah,
what you're
sure.
doing. So, do you have a psychology background, or what made you make this game specifically?
Okay, my daughters. That's originally like it was COVID. I was spending some time with my daughters. I am a programmer. I had been toying around with Unity for like 10 years. I've been given Unity, I've been teaching Unity to developers, but I've never really made a full game myself. And I kind of joined a program, a start your studio kind of program, and it really started with a blank page. I knew I wanted to do something for my children, and it just started there. And I created my studio. I gathered funds. I have now 400,000 euros in funds. So we've been working like 2 years now. The team has grown to 4 people, plus some extra people who work um, who don't work full time for me, but who work part time. And like we just now finished doing the recording for the voice acting, because it's going to be fully voiced because it's for children who cannot necessarily read
Makes sense.
and
Yeah.
all those kinds of things. So yeah, it's pretty exciting adventure so far. I really believe in the product. It's just gotta make itself known, right?
Uh-huh. And are you? Do you know of any other games on Steam that I don't? To be totally honest, I don't know the education space very well. Do you know
Yeah,
other
yeah,
games on Steam that you're kind of like, this is our game? Our game is just like this one, or
yeah.
we're
Okay.
following kind of the success that they did.
So I don't know of a game that's just like ours. That's one thing.
Okay.
I know I've found games that are kind of occupy kind of a similar space, but that are not targeted at the same audience as we are. So most of the time, it's a bit older children or adults who want some wholesome thing, but really wholesome adult things. So,
Mhm.
for example, there's Roki. That's a game. So it's Roki. Um, there is another game called Lost in Play that is not released yet, but I'm really looking forward to see because they're doing a tremendous job. Um, it's also, I think, for a little older audience, but it gets closer to ours. Um, in terms of the subject of emotions, for example, there's Gree. You probably know Gree
Mhm.
or Greece. I don't know how you pronounce it in English.
Who knows?
Um, but yeah, but that's once again it's geared more towards adults. It's actually there's actually some serious stuff going on in there. Um, and there's also a game that I really look at and think, it kind of fits what we do. It's not exactly the same kind of game, but it's Alba. It's called Alba, and it has a longer title. I can't remember now. It's a game made by the people who did Monument Valley.
Mm-hmm.
A story about a little girl who's on an island that takes pictures and helps
Oh,
nature
yeah.
grow and those kinds of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
They actually grow trees for every game sold. So that's interesting because you can get figures on their sales because they've planted 1 million trees. So, they've sold 1 million games.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
um,
And
Also, other games like Figment or Samorost, or I mean, I look at all kinds of different games. But a lot of those games are either very old, like there's Freddy Fish, for example, or Pajama Sam. Those kinds of games are like really old school 1990s or early 2000s games, but that are not really competition because they've been there for ages. So,
yep.
but they exist. Um, I mean, yeah,
So
that's the
if I
market.
could ask, is there do you have an education background? I mean, I know not psychology and you're a programmer, but
Yeah.
do you have connections to the education industry at all? Software education
So I
software?
don't have direct connections. I mean, I'm not personally connected to the education sector. Um, I work. I mean, part of the scenario has been written uh, with help from someone who's a coach, an emotional coach for children. So
Mm.
she goes in schools and she organizes workshops with parents and with teachers and with children to help them accept their emotions. So that's the idea of accepting your emotions and what they
Wait,
mean and what the message they're trying to give you.
oh,
And
that
so,
is super cool. Okay, so what?
mhm,
How much is she part of do you pay her? Is she part of your company or?
yes, I pay her. She is there to she. So first of all, she looks at the scenario. She gives her insights. We talk about emotions, what they are, to understand them better, and to try and put some of those ideas in the game. So the game in itself is not really educational in a way that it doesn't like push educational ideas, but more that is built around those things. So the first premise of the story is built around the idea of grief, um, very much like Gree, but to another level. So Charlie is the hero of the game. So Charlie is neither a girl or a boy. That's another aspect of the game. We don't like push a gender. That's actually very hard for the communication because when I write stuff, I had to think, okay, how am I going to turn this without saying he or she?
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a tongue twister sometimes. Um, but yeah, so Charlie is just coming. I say her because it's more simple to talk. She's coming back from school. She wants to play with a dog, and her dog doesn't want to play, and that's unusual. And her dog is her best friend, and because of that, she doesn't understand, and she goes in her room and has a big fit of anger, and that projects her into the world of her own emotions. And so there's going to be a journey through all those 4 chapters where she is going to accept things slowly. So first she needs to accept that Baya does not want to play, and then when she realizes that she's afraid that she's going to lose her friend, And so that's when we go into fear. And then once she accepts that she has to move on, and she becomes sad because she's sad that she lost her friend,
Yeah.
and then she realizes that it's okay. We can move on. And then once then comes joy, which is going to be the last chapter. And then of
Gotcha.
course we discover that there's a plot twist about why Baya doesn't want to play, and everyone's happy, and there's a new deal in the relationship, essentially.
Gotcha.
So
Okay. Very cool. Okay. I mean, I have a 5-year-old, so we deal with similar things with him. So, um, have you play tested the game with kids, or
yeah.
what? How? Walk me through what you've done with trying to get
Okay. So
feedback.
So we've done several kinds of play tests. The first play tests we did was just to actually test the gameplay to see if the children understood things, what they had to do, how they control the character. And those play tests were actually very interesting because we asked the parents to just stand in the back while the child was playing, not intervene. And we could see during the video that the parent just wanted to go and help their child, and we realized this is an experience that's really cool. You can play with your child, you can be together. It's not like watching a cartoon on television where everyone is watching their thing but no one is interacting. It's more like reading a book,
Mhm.
but without the pressure of having to know how to tell the story right, which is sometimes something that parents know. The parents, not all parents are good at telling stories, so the story tells itself, but it's still interactive, and that's the hook I'm trying to work on.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so yeah, we realized so that children actually, once they get it, they actually understand very well what they have to do, how to do it. Some of them have a little harder time than others, but most of the time it's positive, and they all most of the time want to play the game again. I mean, they just play through the prologue, but they say, I mean, the problem is children are not really as truthful as we sometimes say. They want to say the right thing. So when you ask them if they liked it, they're always going to say they liked it.
Yep.
I mean, at a young age.
Oh
Once
yeah.
they get to 9 years old, then they're gonna give you the stone cold truth of, nah, I'd rather play Fortnite.
Yep.
But
Yep.
that's why we identified the age group being really that very specific, 5 to 8. And actually, for girls, it can be a little older, and for boys, it tends to be more like towards 7, because boys want more action, and it's not an action game at all. So
Okay.
it's a story, right?
Gotcha. Okay. And just to step back, how, that counselor that you work with,
Yeah,
where are you based?
I'm based in Belgium.
Okay, Belgium. And then is that counselor also in Belgium, or where is she
Yeah,
based?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. And she's how much do you is your team? You said part time. Is she a part time person
Yeah,
or
yeah.
full
She
time?
is she is part time. So one of the things we're gonna work on, and I didn't tell you that yet, is an educational brochure. So there's actually going to be several physical material that we're going to provide. We're going to provide some like posters that you can put, that kind of talk about emotions, that use the IP, um, to talk just about general stuff about emotions. But also, what we want to do is have a manual for teachers to use the game in class, and to take a game sequence and explain what the theme is on the game sequence. For example, when Charlie talks to Baya, Charlie tries to get Baya to play. So we are actually in denial here of the fact that Baya doesn't want to play. So this is the first step
Mhm.
of grief, is denial. And we can talk about the problems there, the communication problem, because they don't speak the same language, and the fact that they don't want the same thing. And
Mhm.
so talk with the children. Have you already felt like Charlie? Have you already felt like Baya? What do you think they could have done to solve the problem, and those kinds of things? And so that's really, and we want to do that for all the sequence in the game, so that teachers can actually take a 15 minute session where they play the game in class, either with small groups or on the big, if they have it, like the interactive whiteboards. And then they have a workshop around that, and they can do that throughout the year or throughout the week, depending on how they want. And then the children are going to talk about it with their parents. Oh, we played that, and the teacher are going to talk about it, and that's the idea also. So
And just a quick question, like, how would you get them the posters?
how would we what?
How would you deliver the posters to these teachers and stuff? Like,
Okay, so we're gonna have this. There are still some things that we need to define, right, in terms of delivering the things. Um, so there's the book that we want to make. So we want to make that physical storybook with a few short lore stories. The poster is going to be in there. So the poster is more like for parents, but we're also going to have some PDFs, and the manual for the teacher is going to be sold on our website in form of PDF. Where they can order a physical copy. We still need to make the manual. I mean, it's right now it's still wishful thinking, obviously, but because we need to have the game completed before we can really start, making that manual.
okay,
And we wanna make that manual in collaboration with schools and school teachers, and have their feedback. What did you think? How do you use this? Are the instructions clear for you? Because teachers, they don't want to have to think about their content. They want to have ready content that you can use easily.
gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. And then the parents, would they get that physical book off your website too?
I Yeah, we're gonna sell the book in bookstores and on the website.
Okay, gotcha. And then, one thing about schools that I know, at least in the U.S., this is why I asked where you were from. Do you have to get
Yeah, yeah.
accreditation, or do you have to like submit and get it approved, or some
Not
seal of accreditation of something?
Well, we definitely have some to have some prescribers. Prescribers, is that the right term? Or
I don't know.
prescriptors? Professionals who kind of validate,
Yeah.
but there's no validation process. Like you go to the school and they're either interested, you go to the teacher, and actually it's going to be like a word of mouth thing. The best way to get into classes is by having teachers talk to teachers about the product, and about the thing, and about its values and how they can use it and how satisfied they're about it. So that's going to be a long process, but that is something that we're not going to tackle the entire world market
Yep.
right away. We're going to
Very
start
smart.
in Belgium because I need to go to the schools. I need to meet people. I need to, get the engine going. But that's also another reason why I need the game to kind of find its that audience in other means, and Steam could be one of those. I mean, if a teacher is a gamer and he sees it, he might think, "Oh, that might be interesting.
Uh-huh.
I could use that in class or something."
Yeah. Okay. And then, so it sounds like because I'm trying to figure out the timeline. You want to launch it in August? Is that what you said?
It's September, yeah,
September. So why September? Why did you pick September?
because at some point money needs starts to come.
Okay.
Needs
Okay.
to
Gotcha.
start coming.
Okay.
That's
Gotcha.
just that.
Okay. And it's
And I
it's
believe we can get the game ready by then as well.
okay.
That's another reason.
Good. Good. Okay. So here's kind of my thought, just kind of going through that. I mean, is there anything else that I may have not asked you about that you wish I asked you about, like some other detail that I'm missing?
I don't think so. I've ran you through most of the details.
And then you said you launched the Steam page.
Last Thursday,
Oh, okay.
so
And
5 days ago.
you're at how many wish lists?
How many wish lists right now? I think about 100. I didn't check the numbers today. It was 85 yesterday, and we were getting about 9 to 15 a day. I mean,
Okay.
there was one day where we had a big peak because I shared with all my friends. I don't know how much of this is friends, how much of this is organic. The
Yeah.
CTR is kind of hard to figure out right now,
It's always
because
I can never figure out CTR. It's just I don't even
yeah,
look at that anymore. Yeah. Okay. Here's kind of my take, just looking at this sort of thing, is like,
yep,
um I don't know. Like, why did you pick Steam? I mean, you mentioned the gamer part. Was there a specific reason for Steam? Is it the PC distribution, that sort of thing?
I picked Steam because uh, that's actually the platform. As I mean, this is the first game. It's it. I mean, my ambitions are already pretty high for first game. I'll give you that. I know that's somewhere in your head.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
And,
but
and
um, it's just that's the platform where it's the easiest to have documentation, where it's the easiest to study the market, where it's the easiest to see your statistics and it's easiest to release the game. So essentially, that's the reason.
okay. And
Um,
then, what's your? Do you know how much you're going to sell it for?
yes, 9.99 a chapter.
Okay. And how
So
many
we've
chapters are?
tested the we've asked around people who've done the tests, tested the demo. Most of them were saying they would be ready to pay $15 to $20 for a chapter. I think that would be overpriced, and I think also people will tell you that they're ready to pay for something, but they're not actually going to do it. So I think 9.99 should be the right thing. One of the games I look at in terms of pricing is The Old Man's Journey, because I think it has kind of like the same duration a chapter would have in our game, and it has an art style that is a bit similar, and also a kind of target audience that could be similar. So
And you said $4 or yeah, 4 chapters, right?
yeah, 4 chapters.
Okay. And then let's see, what was I going to ask? How long does it take to get through all 4 chapters? Would you say?
So we think the first chapter is going to be about an hour and a half to get through, and we believe that the other chapter is going to be about the same duration, though the scenario for those chapters is not written yet. So, but that's the kind of thing we're aiming for. We initially thought it was going to be a little bit longer, but people actually play through the game faster than we thought.
Mm-hmm.
They take a little less time to think about things and to just hang around. So yeah.
And then how will it work? Is it going to be 4 separate games on Steam, and then you sell from one to the next, or?
No, so that's one thing we still have to figure out on a technical level, because ideally on mobile it's going to be in-app purchases of extra chapters. So what we think we're going to do for Steam is actually the entirety of the game is of all chapters is going to be actually in the client, and when they buy extra chapters, that's going to give them access to that. Now, there's obviously piracy concerns when you do that, but I mean, Steam will be where the DRM will be handled. So there's always, I mean, you can't avoid that.
Yep. Okay. All right. So I'm kind of forming a thing, and this is kind of what the reason I was like, let me talk to you before you go into those marketing folks.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Here's the working knowledge that the working model that I have, kind of going
Hmm.
into this. It's like, I don't know if Steam's your best audience. Like,
No, obviously, I know that. Yeah.
you're like selling a kid's toy at a rock concert or something. You're like, it's just. I mean, you said, I think it's going to be big. I don't think this game's going to do very well on Steam. Now,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
not that's not to say that it's not going to do well, but
Hmm.
here's my thought is like, I don't know if you've even thought, and this is why I wanted to kind of introduce this to you before you got to the marketing team, but I
Hmm.
actually think just sell it direct from the website. Like, why even have Steam? Like, and here's my thought is Steam is discount store. It's like,
Yeah.
it's discount, discount, discount. They're trying to go for the lowest common denominator. You're going for bulk. People download games because they're cheap, and they're like, my place. People don't play a lot of games. It's just a different
Yeah.
environment. And
Yeah.
but you are entering into education, parents with kids, and they want to support their children. The price ceiling can be a lot higher if you just sell it direct. And here's what I'm
Okay.
thinking is, um, I play games with my son and stuff, and we always get these ads. Are you aware of something called ABC Mouse?
No, I actually don't get much. I get more of the hero wars kind of things. Save the princess.
Yeah. So here's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm gonna send you this message through Discord. I don't know. I get this stuff from games I play with my son. There's a site called ABC Mouse. This is the thing we always get ads for, and
Yeah.
they charge $12 a month to have access to this thing. And it's kind of like what you were saying. Like, I think you're merchandising correctly. Like, you get the posters, you get the book, you get the curriculum, you get all this stuff. Forget Steam. Like, why even go on Steam? That's what people are paying for. Is like,
Yeah.
I have a problem. I want to solve it with my kid. I want to, we got to work on our emotions. You're selling a whole package,
Yeah.
and if you give it, what you're doing basically, here's what my thought is. Don't sell a game on Steam. Sell a
Okay.
package, a website. You are joining a website. $12. This is $12.90 a month. And then
I've seen things you wouldn't believe. There's a platform they charge $65 a month for videos that are crappy about
exactly
emotion.
that is what people expect for an education thing. And when you're
Hmm.
this is why I'm like, I don't think Steam is your best bet, because when I see something put on Steam, I'm like, why did they put this? Is not the right audience. Like you said, kids aren't on Steam. It's typically like, I'd say like 15 to adults are on there. And so you mentioned your market is 5 to 8. Now, it's like, I might be a gamer with a kid, but that's too hard of a reach. You got to meet them where they are. Like, if you go to this ABC Mouse website, it's about education, activities. You're in the right mindset when you're on a site like this.
Okay.
And I think you could make a lot more. And so what you're doing is you're not selling as many copies theoretically, but you are selling a site, and you're selling through that site your game. And I think that is more valuable. You will get more from that education, because people will buy for education for their kids, and you could start small and scale that way and get things right. And that's where you could buy the book. You could have deals where it's like, hey, you pay us $60, we'll ship you the books, the posters, you get access to the game on this, and this. And you're not shipping Steam keys, like you said. You just go and log in, and then you get a download of the game. And you're just completely bypassing Steam. I to be honest, I don't think your game is going to do well on Steam, just because it's the wrong mindset for the Steam audience. And this is kind of why I wanted to talk to you about this before you went to your marketing team, because I have a feeling a lot of marketing consultants and folks, you say, I want to be on Steam. So they go, okay, you're on Steam. This is how we market to Steam. And it's like, no. Let's step back and figure out why even do Steam. And if you look at this ABC Mouse, this is why I asked, are they accredited? You've got a coach, which is awesome. I would put your coach straight up front and say, like, here, this is an accredited coach. She's coached kids. This is what you're selling.
She's not gonna want me to do that. She doesn't, because she has the imposter syndrome, you see. So she likes to help, but she doesn't feel like she can be accredited for those kind of things. However, I do have another friend who's a pedopsychiatrist who has also shown some interest in the game, and maybe she might want to. She might agree to do that, but.
Exactly. But if you look on this thing, it says award-winning curriculum. You've got the gold star seals of approval. Like, this is legit, and we're building this. And it's your build. You can charge monthly for these sort of things, or again, you've got a much more active platform, because you're solving a problem. On Steam, people are just there for fun. It's like, hey, I want to burn some time.
Yeah.
Here, you are solving a problem. My kids are acting up. The psychologist, and it just feels more correct. Like, if a psychologist, my son goes to a psychologist every once in a while. If a psychologist said, okay, there's a game you want to play, there's a game you should play, it's on Steam, and then I download Steam, I'm like, what kind of kooky psychologist is this? Why is she making me go to the site with, like, guns and boobs and stuff? That doesn't give me a warm feeling. But if my psychologist, my child psychologist, said, hey, go to this site, it's called Alba's Emotion, Asfalia's Emotions, then I'm like, okay, and it's your art looks very good. I would have that art all over the website, and then I feel good about my psychologist recommending this. It's all
Okay.
about perceptions. And I think
Hmm.
you are going to sell so much more, and you're going to hit the right audience with a website where they can download all this stuff.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
that's my that's my general recommendation is forget Steam. I see, here's the other problem. If you put it on Steam, you just said our game is at this value. It's like most games on Steam are about $10 to $20. You said we are
Yeah.
$10 to $20 game. You just devalued your game. But your game is so
Hmm.
much more valuable because it's a personal, emotional thing.
Okay. Okay.
And that's why I say, like, I would almost pull the game off Steam just so that you don't have that perception of this is a Steam game at $10. Because as soon as you say Steam game, people immediately lock in and say $10. But if it's
Yeah.
like this, like an experience to help you with coaching, like psychologists charge like $150 an hour. That's the perception of psychology is much higher. This is how
So
much it is.
would you go as far as to say that I shouldn't sell it on mobile?
Well, ABC Mouse, I did see it on mobile or something. I don't know this. I don't know the education space. And I think, when I asked, I was like, do you know of any games on Steam that your recommendations? You didn't name a single like educational game on Steam because they just aren't
No,
there.
there's none. Yeah.
Exactly.
There's Winnie the
That's
Pooh, but it's like super old.
that's a sign that this is not the play. Like this is the,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
can like ABC Mouse is very similar to you. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
this is there's much more on the websites, and I don't know this market. I don't. You've got to go do that research.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Okay.
but that's they do have a web app, and this is where you got to buy it. Subscribe for $12 a month or whatever, just to try it out. You get 30 days for free. Try it out, see where it is. They do have a web app, and that's what was advertised. And I have a feeling what's happening is there might be a mobile app, but it's like a little bit, just a chapter or something. And you're like, hey, the real thing, go subscribe on the website, and you get access to everything. The mobile is just like, I always talk about these lead magnets. It's something cheap and free, and people say, whoa, this is pretty high quality. I like this. My kid likes this. I want to go get the full thing. And I bet that thing's free, and it's an advertisement, so they get the whole thing. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you have so many more marketing opportunities when you sell it as a site with a book
Hmm.
and a poster and all this stuff and a curriculum, because you can go to mom blogs, you can go to mom influencers, psychologists. You have so much more options. As soon as you say Steam, there's not many options.
Okay. Okay. So you'd pull it off Steam then? Okay. Okay. Okay.
That's
Because
why I want to
I
get you.
was thinking I know that Steam is not my core market. It's just that yeah, I just thought, why would I not put it on Steam? Was more like, but it the reason why I should not put it on Steam, it would devaluate the product. Is essentially what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like, I mean, yeah, you could put some children's books at a rock concert on sale, but nobody's going to buy them. And then people are just going to be like, what the heck is this thing?
Well, my strategic advisor, who is Schneider Electric's things, the marketer, he would totally agree with you. So I mean, I have to kind of, yeah,
Here's what you're
let go
selling.
of that idea that I'm making a game for everyone, I guess. But
I think your thing
I'd like
is
to have wholesome gamers
you're
for this
selling
game.
an entire solution. And
Yeah,
the game is just one part of it. You got your
yeah,
games, your books, the thing. I mean, your marketing. This is why I want to talk to your thing is your marketing will need to change to address this. I think you got to have content marketing, which is what I do. I sell to businesses like yourself. I sell to those. I write a blog. You're gonna have to write. You're gonna want your psychology, which I think is so smart that you have a coaching team. They're gonna write blogs like 12 steps to deal with your kid when they have a meltdown. That kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
That
yeah, yeah,
is where your marketing is. Then people are like, oh, how do I teach my kids about emotions? Like, I bet if I Googled, how do I teach my son about emotions? Like, we bought books about a color monster, and we bought a
yeah,
book
yeah,
about this. Like,
yeah.
we buy those books. We spent
Yeah,
like
it
50
sold 3
bucks.
million copies, The Color Monster. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty good. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. And I know
That's
that market as well. Yeah,
yeah, that is you. Yeah, that's where you're marketing. And so that's why I wanted to talk to you before your marketing team. I think you got to sometimes, I don't know your team, sometimes marketers get stuck and they solve what you ask them to rather than stepping back and
yeah,
say, what is the whole problem? And I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
what
yeah.
you need to do is phrase it up to your team. What if we did a site, like a membership site? And I'm not saying this is the solution, but when I look at all these education programs like Color Monster, I bet Color Monster's got a whole site now. Let's look at Color
Oh
Monster.
no, I think that the author is kind of against digitalization because there's no Color Monster game. There's there's board games, there's
Yep.
books, but there I could not find any digital content about the Color Monster. No TV shows, no. It's really weird
What a
because
bunch of
they could be
such a snob.
making
Such a snob.
they could be making lots of money, but they're
It's
not.
not just the
But
money.
I
It's
mean,
like I don't know. I don't like this.
yeah.
Why do these people always say, "Oh, digital's so bad"? Like digital is fun. Like I don't know why they're such snobs about that stuff. But anyway, so um, but I think this is. I'm just trying to. She doesn't even have a website. Oh my god.
No,
See,
no, she don't.
but anyway, so a lot of these things, you. This is where you are, and I think this is. You got to think more on these. Like you're selling a whole solution, and I think
Mhm.
it's like you can start doing stuff where it's like, hey, you can sell a book and a poster and a game bundled together, or you could just buy this and this. Like if you bundle them together, you save this much. You have so many more options when you're selling it out of your site than you do if you put it on Steam. So that's my
Okay, okay.
general just gut feel as to
No, but
what you think.
you're not the only one with that gut feeling. So and I'm listening to everyone and trying to figure it out also for myself because yeah, it's a big adventure. It's an adventure way bigger than I thought it would be when I started it. But
What
I'm on the mountain and I'm going up.
when you with your game in Unity, because you're a Unity developer, can you?
Yeah.
I knew they had those like web players. Can you embed your game in the website?
Yes, it's possible. I've not made any web builds, and there might be uh, some issues because it's not a heavy game, but it could be there could be some performance considerations that would be required to make it on the web.
Because
One
my
of my
thought is,
worries about making it a web game is really like that, like asset flips and those kinds of things because it kind of scares me. But I
here's the
guess
thing:
there's
is
nothing you can do against it.
no, you don't have to worry about that anymore. You are not selling a game. That's a change in perspective you have. You're selling a solution, and a game is just one part of it.
Hmm,
That's
hmm,
what's different.
hmm.
Like nobody's gonna pirate this. Nobody will because they're parents. The people who play this and want this are
Yeah,
parents. They don't want just like a game. They want a solution. They want to know the books, the stuff. They want the posters. They want the how to talk to the kid. They want the story. Like, if you, I would even hire somebody who has a video who's good on video and camera to give you that thing. Like, here's how to talk
yeah,
to your kids. Here's how to play the game with your kids. You could sell a
yeah,
whole video series on how to play a game with your child. Do you sit back? Do you sit next to them? Do you let them do it? How do you control yourself? So like you said, how do you not get your kid out of the way and you play it? Like that's a whole thing. You're selling a whole solution, which is much better than just selling a game on Steam. Because on
yeah, yeah,
Steam,
yeah,
nobody plays the games. You're not just selling a thing. You're selling everything, and
yeah,
that's so much more valuable. And I think that's what you kind of have to change your perspective a little bit on. Is it's the whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah. Okay, okay.
I think you're in a
Well,
good spot. Like, I would much rather sell a game that's part of a whole bundle rather than just like something on Steam. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you're gonna send so much more. You're gonna earn so much more selling a whole solution. You know what I mean?
yeah. And I mean, I want to develop this idea of Tails. We call them Tails 4.0. Like it's the new digital interactive version of Tails that books can't do and cartoons can't do. It's just video
Exactly.
games that are support for a new kind of. I mean, it's not really novel. It's always been there, but no one's really gone out and used it that way.
Yep.
And that's what I want to do.
Yep. So, in a nutshell, that's my advice: is I'd forget Steam. Um,
Okay. 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 Well, I'm gonna sleep on it.
I mean, we have 15 more minutes if you want to ask anything else
Yeah,
specifically.
I actually have a question about because I'm still thinking about the different platforms the game would be an ideal experience for, and everyone tells me this is a game for Switch. So what I wonder is, considering all what you have said here, um, how do I approach the question of do I port it to Switch? I've been contacted by a game publisher called Red Deer Games. They told me they've seen the game. They've contacted me through an email address. I don't even know how they got it. So they've definitely done some research. And they tell me we like your game. It fits our portfolio. We do Switch ports, and essentially you don't have to pay anything, and we publish them, and we pay the port through the publishing deal essentially. I was wondering if you have any advice on this, considering all that's been said now. Is it something I should pursue or not,
No,
or maybe make?
I don't know. I mean, I just don't. I don't know. I don't know the education space, but
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think it's. I don't know any educational games on Switch.
Hmm.
I think.
Well, there's the video game thing workshop. You can make video games on Switch, those kinds of things. There are education games on Switch, anyways. But
Yeah, I think that a lot of that advice that people are saying, like, oh, this would be great on Switch, they're doing this very basic math, which is
hmm
kids play Switch games. This is a game for kids, perfect for Switch.
hmm
I don't necessarily think it, because here's why. You are selling an education solution for when kids have emotional things, and when kids pick up Switch, they want to play Mario. They're like, I want to play Mario. And so what you're doing is you are comparing, when you're on Switch, you're comparing against Mario. You know, you are like, um, the kids constantly like, can I just close this game and pick up Mario? You know, and I just don't. And it kind of goes back to the overall thing. Like, you can't control it. What, again, you're going to make so much more selling this game personally out of your site. You can't control that on Switch. Like, you can't, like, let's say you were to sell it for $12 a month, access to teaching your child how to have emotional control. If you go to Switch, you can't do that on Switch. There's no memberships thing. You can't lock people out. I think Switch is like a longer term play. I just don't. If you were to go and sell it personally on your site, Switch just makes things more complicated. And I think you got to simplify and focus on one thing, and Switch detracts from that. So I
hmm
don't think,
hmm
especially these
Yeah.
publishers, because their portfolio is their portfolio education games. They say, oh, it would fit good in our portfolio. No. So I don't think it would be good, just personally.
Well, that's why I asked the question, because I thought that's what you were gonna say. so so okay. So I think we're on the same page here. Okay, great. I have one more little question, and I think we've juiced this lemon.
Okay.
Is Can I share? So you're recording. Can I share the video of us both talking about this publicly or in private space? I'm specifically thinking of. So I'm in a community of game developers in Belgium, and I always try and share as much with the others to actually help them as well. Because being helpful makes people want to help you in the future as well, and I believe in that very strongly. Um, so is that okay with you?
I get. I mean, I wouldn't post this on Twitter. I don't know.
No. I'm not gonna post it on Twitter. No,
Okay.
what I'm thinking of doing essentially is putting the video on YouTube in private. Like access just with the link, and then post the link in my community of game dev friends, and also obviously on the Discord of my studio, so the people who work with me can see the video and see the thought process along with it.
Um. Yeah. Yeah. Go for it. Let. You can post it. in a private link and share those links with folks. I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Chris, thanks a
Uh,
lot. I knew
sure,
this was
sure.
going
I
to be
mean, we
worth
do.
it.
I mean, you're you still have 10 minutes. I don't know if you want to go up to it. If you have anything else,
Okay. 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 No.
I want you to use all of your time. So
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. How did you? How did you? Um. Okay. I downloaded the mailing list thing
yeah.
I've not really read through it, but it's like there's a lot of content to read about and a lot to think about. Um, so I suppose that this kind of approach is actually very ideal for what I'm doing. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Much more. Mailing list would work so much better for you than to sell it just on Steam. So much
So
better.
so since that's really your core business, how do you um, how do you get people to sign up on your mailing lists?
You just have to give a very specific problem and
Yeah.
start very specific. So for you, it might be, child psychology is so hard. You know, whatever the thing that you identify your game solves the best, like how to get your kid to stop throwing tantrums, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I would say you sell a little tiny book that's like 12 steps to improve tantrums or to prevent tantrums or to prevent whining, whatever it is that you think you've got the best, and you give the best thing away for free. That's the secret. They have a thing, you say you make your free thing better than most people's paid things, and you
Hmm.
say I'm giving away this book, join the mailing list, I'll send you a copy of the book. And then you have this sequence that walks through, like, okay, after you've solved your kid's tantrum, what to do after the tantrum. And you write email content. It's content marketing, and it's really based on the psychology of it. Like, that's why I wanted to make sure that you had somebody who's a psychologist or a coach on your team, because they're in charge. They are the ones that would create this content, because I don't know anything. I mean, I know some stuff about child
Hmm.
psychology
Hmm.
just because I have a kid, but they know. And that's what you would write. And then you want that content that comes in through email. People are like, wow, this company understands children. I am sold. I will buy anything they sell me because they know my kid. I tried the things that they told me to do and it worked. So what's next?
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
I'm actually thinking that the thing is, she has her own business, right? Of doing coaching for emotions, and so there is kind of a how would I say, um, conflict of interests for her to create content for me, where she could create it for her and help her business more than mine. Uh, but what I'm thinking now that you're saying this is, I should probably offer her to say, you know what? Why don't you make your business part of mine, and I will because that would be very interesting. If my company could say we organize those kinds of things, and she would be doing those, and she would probably make more money and find more clients and actually have also more people to help her with the communication, because be she will be benefiting from all the communication space that I invest in, and it's I think it's would be a win-win. So I would really have to have a talk with her about this, because right now that's kind of the issue, is that there's this, she has her business and I have mine, and we help each other, but you know there's this little bit of
It has to be
I
that.
wouldn't say friction, because it's not that, but
And yeah, it depends on the person's type, like what her interests are, what her long-term goals are. She might want to be just, some people don't care about running a business. They just like, hey, I just like helping kids. That's what I want to focus on. Sure, if I'll, pay me X number of dollars per article that I write, and you say, okay, can you write me 5 articles? And then she'll say,
yeah.
sure. And she likes it. She writes the articles. She gets the payment, and that's all she wants. It's not a conflict of interest to her. Theoretically, I don't know. If she's like, hey, I just like to write articles. I don't want to manage 2 businesses and merging business. I don't want to deal with that. I just want to write articles. She might be up for that. That might be the arrangement. I get your feel for I don't know her, but that's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
how
yeah,
it works out.
Okay. Okay. Well, Chris, I know there might be some extra minutes, but
Yeah, I don't want to
uh,
just hold your time then. So
no, yeah, yeah, you got to squeeze it all. No, but no, you said you're 99% sure that I'm gonna be 100% satisfied. So
I want to
yes,
make
I
sure
am.
that you're happy with it.
Definitely. Okay.
Okay.
It was nice
Well,
meeting you as well. So
very nice meeting you, and thank you so much for hiring me to do this. I really appreciate it. So,
awesome.
okay, I'll talk to you later.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Do you
yeah, yeah.
know if I can get an invoice for this, or how does this work? So I can check with my accounting
Yep.
thing.
I will send you. Do you need to have your tax ID on there? Do you know?
Yes, ideally, yes.
Yep.
Do I need to send it to you by mail then?
Okay, here's the thing. And this is the platform that you booked it for, and I dislike it. I hate it. They can't quite do an invoice with. There's no field that says tax ID. I have
Okay.
actually opened a ticket with them. Like, can you just add
Yeah.
a field that says tax ID? They said no. So here's the workaround that I do for a lot of companies like yourself. What I do is go into Teachable where you booked it,
Okay.
change your name to your name, and then in parentheses put your and say like tax ID. So and then put your
Okay.
number.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
kind of a hack. It's kind of a hack.
Yeah. That's the classical solution. I mean, yeah. Okay.
Yep, do that, and then say, Chris, I did it, and then I will generate a receipt basically, and it'll just be a PDF. But you have to do it, and then I have to do the thing. It's terrible. I've opened a help ticket so they could do it, but
Okay.
that's the thing. So let me know
I
when
go
you're
into
done with
my
that.
profile and change my name. Essentially, is that it?
Yeah.